Okay, so I want to show you this because this is another channel that I frequent
Everyone, markets tumble.
quite a bit, excuse me. And they mainly focus this Adapt 2030 right here. This was just published today, August 6th. They mainly focus on the grand solar minimum, which basically in a nutshell has something to do with an anomaly with the sun or cycles that occur with the sun. And I don't have a problem with that per se. It's something that I'm still kind of looking into. I can see that we ebb and flow with certain things with the planet. But I believe that there are also other factors at play that, I've talked about in other videos what YouTube hasn't ripped down and stolen away. I have talked about how in the I Don't Care video that Justin Bieber and Sherhan do, they're literally making fun of the crop failure. And a good portion of videos that I've dedicated time, effort, and energy to sticking on YouTube have been tracking this phenomena of the crop failure on all seven continents, which to me feels like a setup or a prelude to the third seal and everything that has to go along with it. And not just the third seal, but specifically the third seal. But in other videos we talk about how it feels like the one particular nation on the face of this earth, which I guess there's not 193 countries, it's 197 depending on who you talk to. But anyhow, nonetheless, out of almost 200 countries, there's one country specifically that has a Messiah they want to launch onto the earth. And so Seal 1 is being set up. We know that reports are coming in that Seal 2, that there's going to be war with Iran or Iran, however you want to pronounce that, with participation potentially by Israel, potentially by America. So, those just those three seals right there also could play very heavily into a coming fourth seal of death, disease, things of that nature, which are the first four seals of the seven that God uses in that introductory time period of that 7 years. So when I see articles like this, I'm always really, really interested because we're seeing crop failure in a capacity that we have never seen before. So it's not just your natural, typical, whatever, whatever. It's something much bigger. And then, of course, your fifth seal, we already know very well that the Noahide laws have been in place, sitting on the back burner, ready for use for a long, long time. And they're really not all that different at all from the book of Daniel, where under King Darius's administration, I believe it was, that a law was made that you cannot pray to God. And if you do, then you're going to get thrown in the lion's den. So we're already seeing all the way back from 1991. And I've done quite a few videos about Noahide, and those have all been pulled down except maybe one, which may or may not have been pulled down. But we've talked about going to noahide.org, going to the sub laws, going to the courts of justice, and then going to number 16. And it tells you that if you are caught violating any of these six of seven, seven is getting the courts up and running worldwide, that you will be decapitated. So, and then of course, number six is potentially what a lot of people have been talking about, this planet Nibiru or some type of cosmic calamity that's coming. And then the seventh seal is that moment of silence for 30 minutes, which looks to me like the mercy of God, allowing people to repent in that moment. And we're stepping closer and closer to that time period opening up for the sons of Adam, not the sons of God, but for the sons of Adam, the slaves who refuse to repent and be born again. So a lot could be said about that. But right now, I just really want to focus on this video here at Adapt 2030. He's talking about Zero Hedge doing an article here on markets tumble after Beijing suspends U.S. agricultural imports. So let's listen, because this is being manufactured, and the timing of it, as pretty soon we're going to be creeping up to a Lul 1, which is the month just preceding your Feast of Trumpets, and God fulfills feasts, okay? And Jesus had a lot to say about pay attention to summer, pay attention to the time of my coming. I could say a lot more about that, but I don't want to get into all that right now. Suffice it to say that September 1st is going to be the beginning of Elul, the month right before your Tishri 1, and that's going to be at the end of September. So Jesus said, be ready, and he said, be watching. So these are the kinds of things that we're doing to be in compliance with his will. And here is potentially the setup, friends, for the third seal global famine coming.
After Beijing suspends U.S. agri-imports, ordering China state-run importers stop anything from America. Interesting, though, how their corn crops decimated by army worms. And Chinese duck farmers becoming overnight millionaires as half of China's pigs are culled due to the swine flu, tripling prices for duck. Nice substitute. The new quest for proteins, insects for animal feed, but we've seen that in the media. Insects for you, the humans too. Russia slashing its wheat exports, 6.2 million tons. Canadian wheat crop cut by 5%. American corn so behind that the USDA will definitely have to update their forecast here August 12th, which means one thing, up and up food prices. So how prepared are you for emergency situations or escalating food prices? My Patriot Supply. The distraction story of the week. Markets tumble after Beijing suspends U.S. agri-imports. Beijing has ordered all China state-run agricultural firms to suspend anything that is American farm good related. And this poses an interesting question. You know, China just lost 35% of its corn crop. Swine flu's decimated the pigs. Agriculture in general is down due to the grand solar minimum losses in Heilongjiang in the northern part of China. Where are they going to get all this food from? They rely on the United States as a major food importer. I know they haven't stockpiled that much. Even state media reporting on they're just at the cusp of carryover stocks to get through this year. But an interesting factoid, Chinese duck farmers become overnight millionaires. Half of the pigs in China gone. It's actually more. It's around 70%.
Whoa.
And if you look at what China just brought in this last month, pork imports, because they can't even raise enough pigs in the country, and then look at the prices, 62% increase over last year. Duck farmers quacking all the way to the bank. For 2019, total herd losses exceed 50% in China of all the pigs.
Whoa.
Expect the demand for ducks to soar is an understatement. Prices here nearly tripling. I guess it's a good time to be a duck farmer in China. The image here in Jiaxing in Zhejiang province. And I've also seen reports where pig farmers decimated by the swine flu, they can't bring pigs back into that same area for 3 years. So the government's offering them capital and startup loans if they install fish farms. So in my opinion, China is definitely going for smaller animal proteins now. Fish, ducks, chickens. Forget the pigs. Anything big, it's gone. They're looking for more bang for the buck and a faster raise on what they can produce into the stores for protein. And then looking through possible feed sources here, the quest for new proteins. Insects for animal feed. Fast growth for insects for feed market. $267 million. And that was in 2018. And then we jump right to 2019. Insect meal, good for birds and eggs. So they're definitely trying to push over to insect proteins versus imports. So when you see the insect farms in China being funded by the state, it seems that's the transition point here. So you yourself into the grand solar minimum, what's your transition point for the substitution crop? Yinsect, 20 million grant from the European Commission, and 3.7 billion euros to build out their facilities for insect production. 3.5 million euro insect project as well. This is the Netherlands coming in, taking some insect management course. Also aquafeed coming back right to what the Chinese are doing. Fish farms replacing pork production. It seems this is going to be the play as we move forward. Everybody's kind of understanding these cows and pigs are taking up too much space, too much feed, in a limited grain yield world that we're stepping into. So you can already see the transition. Jumping over to agri-census, wheat exports cut, corn exports cut, French corn down.
Oh,
Causes are the drought. And taking a look at some exact numbers here, the corn crop got crushed from 75% down to 67% in good condition, wilting, dehydration. And the entire country's corn production is going to be cut 2 million metric tons. But we saw the same thing over in Bulgaria and Romania. Their production is going to be cut 30%. And those are the top two producing regions in the EU for corn.
wow.
We've got the U.S. down to record low levels, China down to record low levels. So where's China going to import all their food from? They're trying to pretend like it's some trade war with America, but America has the most food to sell them. This is becoming absurd in the news. It's nothing more than a distraction. And jumping over to Russia, wheat, they're going to slash their exports 6.2 million tons. Keeping it internally, what do the Russians know about the grand solar minimum? Oh, maybe Dr. Abudamatov and Valentina Zarkova could give a little look there as to what to happen, as well as the Pulkovo Observatory. And it seems that the Russians are well aware of the intensifying grand solar minimum. And right along with the bad conditions across North America, Canadian wheat crops slashed by 5%. Jumping back to American corn, silking, do you like the color red? Look at the red line right in the middle. Happy, prosperous red in the Chinese culture. Bad for America, that red line means lowest silking progress since 1938. Nice. Do you think the USDA is going to have to update their forecast and the bogus numbers they put out in June? Do you think prices are going to rise for your food staples? These are just common sense questions. U.S. corn conditions, harmonious red. Do you like red? Take a look at the red line. That's where U.S. corn production is. And somehow it's not making the media. But then all these other side stories are talking about switching to insect proteins, smaller animals for protein. But why don't we put some numbers on that? Because graphs are one thing, numbers are another. 42% of the crop will not be mature by September 28th. 42%. That's almost half of the American corn crop.
Wow.
And China lost 35% of their corn crop. Where is the food going to come from? Yeah, you can make ethanol from wheat. Yeah, you can try to switch crops. And they even talk about in the article, if October there's an early freeze, which by all accounts there should be due to the intensifying grand solar minimum and the weather patterns we're seeing stacking up for the third year in a row, it will be an early freeze. And finally, the USDA comes out and says, oh, our June report did not reflect the actual conditions in the field, meaning we lied or we put out a bogus report due to pressure from somebody else so we won't spook the markets and we won't spook you, the American public, and the global public, that your food prices are going to rise indefinitely from this year forward. But don't worry, they're going to put out solid numbers this report, right? You can trust the USDA now. That's why I have to come out and write a book and put out my own corn report and put out presentations about the true state of our climate going into this grand solar minimum. Climate
Okay, and so, yeah, I mean, whatever the cause or causes of it are, this is the reality. And when they're not reporting it to you, it's because they're hiding it from you, obviously. Why are they hiding it from you? I tend to wonder, like I began this video thesis with, that they are setting up for the seals, the four horsemen of the apocalypse that are coming. And over at the Money GPS, he's got a great video here. Stock market dropped 767 points. China and U.S. trade war. So there's a lot of things going on, and the timing of these things, the beginning here of August, and as I said, September 1st is when Elul 1 is going to be here. And then the end of September is when Tishri 1, the Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, the autumn um, uh, Feast of Trumpets, which very well could possibly be when the Messiah comes back, because that's when you were going to have our planet and our moon at Virgo's feet, which matches with Revelation 12. And that rapture's in verse 5 there, friends. Thank you.